Which Premier League team will win the league? Which Premier League teams will finish in the European places? And which Premier League teams are going down to the Championship? Hello guys, how are we all doing? Welcome back to yet another video. This is my new Premier League table prediction. At the start of February, I'm going to guess what I think the Premier League table will look like at the end of the season come the end of May. Let me know your predictions down below, guys, whether you agree or disagree with my predictions. That's fine, just get your comments down in the comments down below. And do make sure to hit that like button. We'll go for 200 likes, and do subscribe as we push to 25,000 subscribers. Hit that red button. This is my Premier League prediction, guys. There's still a long way of the season to go. It's pretty much half of the season to go, so it's a big video. Let's see who I'm putting where from top to bottom. Let's start at the top, working our way down. This is my top four. At the top of the league, I'm going for Arsenal. I think Arsenal are going to win the league. Manchester City second, Newcastle third, and Manchester United in fourth. This is the current top four at the moment, actually, in the right order. I've been won round by Arsenal. At the start of the season, I did back Manchester City to win the league like most people did, and I still think they are the best threat to Arsenal, but I'm starting to think Arsenal will do it. I think it's going to be very close. The thing for me with Arsenal is they've now opened up a good gap. At the time of recording this video, they've got a 5-point gap over Manchester City with a crucial game in hand, and the way they are going, I'd expect them to win that game in hand, which we're looking at 8 points ahead of Man City if that was to play out. Arsenal have been fantastic. The momentum they've got, the wins they've been pulling in, especially recently when they beat Manchester United at home, they are absolutely flying. It is worth saying though, they've still got the 2 games against Manchester City, which I think is make or break in the Premier League title race. If Arsenal lose the away game to Man City, I don't think that's a massive problem so long as they don't lose the home game. If they don't lose the home game, that is massive. If they win one of them, even if they lose at Man City but win the home game, then the gap stays the same. Even if they were to just deny them with 1 draw, they'd still keep a healthy gap. They just cannot afford to lose both of those games to Man City, because Manchester City, the team that I'm putting in second place, are a team that can pick up so much momentum and end the season really, really well. Arsenal have been fantastic. You've got to say, Jesus has been fantastic business and Nketiah's filled in brilliantly. Man City are definitely going to be in the top 2, but at this moment in time, I think Arsenal are going to pinch the league and Man City are going to finish second. Newcastle in third is an interesting one. Now, Newcastle, a bit like with Arsenal at the top of the table, we could say Newcastle have got a good gap over those teams below 4th place. I think Newcastle will cement a top 4 finish. They're absolutely flying. They're in the Carabao Cup final, which is brilliant to see as well, and they're well ahead of schedule. At the start of the season, I had Newcastle 8th. I thought that was being quite generous considering where they were last season, but they did invest in the squad, not as much as some people thought they might, but they're still doing fantastic. Newcastle are a team that are really going to be going places in the next couple of years. One thing for me that makes me think Newcastle will stay there is, one, they've only lost 1 league game this season, and that was at Liverpool, which some Newcastle fans say they shouldn't have lost, and they've been fantastic. They just keep pulling out results, even if it's just a 1-0 win here, a 1-0 win there. They're not playing in Europe, which teams like Manchester United, Liverpool and Chelsea have got to fare with, so I think Newcastle are going to keep ticking along and finish in 3rd place. I find it unbelievable to think Newcastle have the best defence in the Premier League just past the halfway point. They've only conceded 11 goals this season. It's incredible. Manchester United are going to be my team to wrap up that top 4. I think Manchester United have been brilliant. They've really done fantastic in my opinion since that little bit of a wobbly start to the season. I did actually back Manchester United to finish 4th at the start of the season, and I'm going to stand by that. I think that's a very good shout. If anything, they might jump up into 3rd, but the way they are going, I don't think they're actually going to finish outside of the top 4, like I say, unless they went on a really bad run. They've got so many players putting in fantastic performances. The defence has certainly improved in recent weeks. They've got goal scorers all over the place, and even though they've had a couple of injuries, I think Sabitzer could be a really good addition to that team. Manchester United to finish in 4th. Let's go for the next 4 teams then, and in 5th place I'm going to go for Liverpool. Now, this is an interesting one. Liverpool at the moment are 9th, but they've got a game in hand. I think they will start to improve. They can't keep this poor run going forever, but I think they've blown the top 4 at the moment. It's not impossible. At the moment, 4th is Manchester United to lose, but Liverpool to me are still that best threat to try and break that top 4 up. I think Liverpool will improve towards the end of the season, but like I say, they've really blown it with this recent run. They're out of the FA Cup as well. They're out of the Carabao Cup. They've got the Champions League still going, so if they get far in that competition, they could still save their season. But I don't think they're going to get a top 4 finish at the moment. In 6th place are Tottenham Hotspur. At the time of recording this video, Tottenham have won only 2 of their last 5 Premier League games, and they've got a game against Manchester City coming up very soon. So Tottenham are really in a sticky situation. They've played a game more than Manchester United and they're 3 points behind them. So unless Tottenham go on a really good run, I can't see them making the top 4 at the moment either. They've lost the most games out of any of the teams in that top 6. And on top of that, Tottenham have conceded the most goals in the top 12. There's teams in mid-table with better defences than Tottenham Hotspur at the moment. So unless they really improve or have a massive change in management or something, I don't see them making the top 4 at this point in time. In 7th place are Brighton. Now, I think it'd be fantastic to see Brighton in Europe, and you got to say, they deserve it. From what they've done so far this season, they have been brilliant. They are a seriously talented team. They've got good continuity. They are the 4th top scorers in the division, and they've only lost to Arsenal in the Premier League since the World Cup. It's not impossible Brighton make the top 4. I do think competing with the so-called Big Six and Newcastle is a very hard feat for Brighton, especially going into the second half of the season when you really rely on squad depth. But I think Brighton will just sneak into a European place here. And then in 8th place are Chelsea. Chelsea might just miss out on Europe at this moment in time. They are currently 10th at the time of recording this video. And although they've had a very busy January, it might take a little bit of time for new players to gel. I think they are a team that are going to be a bit stronger next season, but they are currently a long way off it. They're 10 points off 4th at the moment, which makes me think they haven't really got much of a chance of that unless they were to go on a silly run like winning 5 or 6 in a row. I don't think Graham Potter's necessarily the problem. I do think new players being gelled in by Graham Potter, and over time things will get better. But at this moment in time, I don't fancy Chelsea to get into that top 6 and definitely not the top 4. Next up then, we have Fulham, Brentford, Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. Let's start off with Fulham. Fulham have been absolutely fantastic. Honestly, a team that people were associating with being a yo-yo club have broken that trend in style. They are fighting for Europe this season, and it wouldn't surprise me if they were to finish in the top 7 the way they are going. They are churning out 1.5 points per game, which is projecting them about 57 points, so I think that would be around 8th or 9th in the table. Mitrovic is doing very well this season, we must add as well, with 11 goals in all competitions. So can Fulham keep it up in the second half of the season? There's absolutely no doubt they're staying up. Can they stay in that top 10 or even stay in that top 7? It's possible. Let's wait and see. In 10th place are Brentford. I was swapping these two around. I think they're on a similar level. Brentford, once again, fantastic in the Premier League. The fact we're now 20 games into the Premier League season and Brentford have only lost 4 times is incredible. They are absolutely fantastic against the top 6 teams as well, we must add. They're never an easy game to play, whether you're up at the top or down at the bottom. Brentford keep churning out really good results. They've got a really good squad, fantastic continuity. I think you could say this is maybe a slightly harsh prediction because you could put Brentford in your top 8. I'm a massive fan of Brentford, by the way. So let's see how they get on. It's so tight. There's so many teams trying to cram in there. In 11th place, I've gone for Aston Villa. They are currently 11th, in no danger whatsoever of going down. Fantastic results at the moment. They've churned out 10 points in the last 4 Premier League games. It's the Unai Emery effect. Can they keep this going, or is it just a new manager bounce? I think they'll keep it going. I think they'll stay roughly where they are. It would be great to see Aston Villa break into that top 10. If they could have a top half Premier League finish, that'd be fantastic for their passionate fan base. But there's so many teams with so much quality in there, it is a really hard ask. I think they've got fantastic quality, and I don't think they'll fall down the division. Unai Emery is building something really nice at Aston Villa. I think they'll finish 11th, right in the middle of the table. Next up, Crystal Palace in 12th place. For me, they are that middle team. They're 7 points off the top 7, so I don't think they're going to be fighting for Europe, and they're 7 points above the bottom 3, so I don't think they're in any danger of going down. Yes, it's possible with a bad run they could get sucked into it, or with a good run, who knows where they could be, but at the moment in time, they are that middle team. They are currently under a goal per game, with only 18 scored in 20 games so far this season, but as I say, I don't think they're in any danger of going down. It will be interesting to see what they are like come March. Can Patrick Vieira continue to motivate his players when relegation isn't really a threat? Because it's not impossible Crystal Palace could finish in that top 10. On to the next 4 teams then, and this is really interesting because a lot of these are still in that relegation battle conversation, but I've gone for Nottingham Forest in 13th, Leeds United 14th, West Ham 15th, and Wolves in 16th. Let's start with Nottingham Forest then, who are currently 13th, and I think they'll probably stay where they are now, which would be a great thing to do in their first season. The first season is always about staying up. Now, at the start of the season, I projected them to finish 11th. It's not impossible they could do that, but at the moment, 13th is just as good. If they can keep their heads above water, it's absolutely fantastic. One thing for Nottingham Forest is that home form. They've got to keep churning out as many points as they can at home, so there's not much pressure on those away games. It is fantastic to see that they've got their first away win at Southampton, but like I say, the City ground, they want to make that fortress. If they can just churn out another 3 or 4 home wins this season with the odd away win, then they could comfortably get to 40 points. They are above a point per game at this moment in time, which is absolutely fantastic. So, can Steve Cooper continue to work his magic at Nottingham Forest and keep them above that bottom 3? I think he will. Now, in 14th is Leeds United, and it is nervous times at Leeds United at the moment because they're not a million miles above that bottom 3, but I do think they've got enough quality to get over the line. They've got a goal scorer there in Rodrigo, who's already on 12 goals for this season, which is absolutely fantastic, always massive down the bottom end of the table. And February is such a massive month with Forest, Everton and Southampton. If they win none of those games, then they are in serious danger. But I think Jesse Marsch will start to pull some more wins in, and I think we could see Leeds actually start to go on a bit of an upward spike towards the end of the season. 15th is West Ham. They're currently under a point per game. They're currently under a goal per game. It's seriously concerning at West Ham, but I've got to say that squad is too good to go down. I just think David Moyes is not getting the right tune out of these players. As I said a few weeks ago, they need to change the manager. Since then, they've only won against Everton, who are in an even bigger crisis, but as I say, West Ham are probably going to have enough about them to just keep churning out points. I think a lot of people are convinced West Ham just have too much to go down. They've got a big stadium, a big fan base, and like I say, lots of quality. And on top of that, despite how poor they've been in front of goal, they do have the best defensive record in the bottom half of the Premier League table. So a solid enough foundation. West Ham should really pull away towards the end. I think they will get over the line. I'm going to say 15th for West Ham. In 16th, Wolves, another team right in this conversation that are nowhere near safe yet, but I am convinced they will have enough to get over the line. I think it could be close, but I think they will be okay. They're currently on 17 points from 20 games, which means they're projecting around 33 points at the end of the season. That probably won't be enough, but I do think under the new manager, they're just starting to show some signs of improvement. The Premier League's very unforgiving, but thankfully for Wolves, compared to some of the teams down the bottom, they have a bit of Premier League experience here. They are averaging just over a point per game at home, which does go to show that their home form could be what keeps them afloat this season. It's a really poor season, as I keep saying, one to forget for Wolves, but they could just get away with it this season with there being a lot of teams that are really struggling. I think Wolves will just stay above that bottom 3, but it is close, I must say. So then on to my bottom 4. Who's the final team staying up and what is my Premier League bottom 3? This is absolutely massive. Well, I've gone for Everton to just get over the line with Leicester, Southampton and Bournemouth going down. This was really hard to predict. Honestly, you guys will have completely different predictions down below, but with Everton, the reason I've got them stay up is Dyche. It could be madness or it could be spot on. I think it's so unpredictable before he's actually managed his first couple of games. And to be fair, his first couple of games are Arsenal and Liverpool. If he gets anything out of them, then they're on to a winner. If not, then we still need to give him more time to be judged. But the thing is, I think he's got more about him than Frank Lampard, and he will get a bit more of a tune out of these players. I'm not saying they're going to shoot out of this and climb up to mid-table, but if they could just crawl over the line, that would be good enough. That team needs to stay in the Premier League. If not, it's an absolute crisis. I mean, it is already a crisis with what's going on off the pitch, and I can understand fans' frustrations. And I do look at that team and think, they're not actually that good. Everton are a big club, but the players they've got are bottom half, bottom 3 Premier League players, really. But I think Dyche will just get enough out of them. And if he can get them to 36, 37 points, that could be enough. I don't even know if they could get to 40 points the way they are going at the moment. But as I say, Sean Dyche is the only reason I've got Everton to just get out of there. but my opinion could change on that in a couple of weeks. So then on to my bottom three. This is probably the biggest surprise. Leicester City in 18th. A few people are actually starting to think Leicester could go down. It would be mental after winning the Premier League 7 years ago. But the reality is they are right in the mess. They're really struggling for wins. One thing I always find a massive indication of where a team is at is how they're performing at home. That is your bread and butter, where you should be getting the majority of your points. They've picked up 9 points in 10 home games. They're under a point per game at home. That is a real worry. Yes, they have got crucial players coming back and a couple wins and the picture completely changes, but can you single-handedly rely on James Maddison to keep this team up? I think Brendan Rodgers is running on thin ice, and Leicester are in my bottom three. In 19th, I did go for Southampton. Southampton are a team that are really struggling down there. Since Nathan Jones has come in, I think they have shown signs of subtle improvement, but probably not enough. They're in a relegation dogfight, and if anything, they need results over performances, and they're not really getting them. Yes, they've been okay in cup competitions. They got to the Carabao Cup semi-final, but the Premier League is really the focus, and they've only picked up 1 win, and that was away at Everton, where Everton were at their lowest ebb. Southampton have to pick up more home points. They've got the worst home record in the Premier League. Like I say, James Ward-Prowse can only do so much. Can he keep them up single-handedly? I don't think so. Southampton are in my bottom three. And the final team, AFC Bournemouth. I'm sorry, Bournemouth. I did predict them to go down at the start of the season, and my opinion was changing at the start when they were starting to improve when they first sacked Scott Parker. But I don't look at them at the moment and see them as a team that's capable of staying in the Premier League. They've got the worst away record in the Premier League, and they've conceded the most goals. 42 in 20 games. Over 2 goals conceded per game. That's not a good formula to staying up. What I do find quite funny is I have a lot of confidence in Bournemouth to come straight back next season. I think they're going to be way too good for the Championship, but I don't think they're going to be good enough to stay in the Premier League this season. They might become a little bit of a yo-yo club. Only time will tell, but Bournemouth fans, I would be worried. They're my bottom team. So then guys, that wraps up today's video. Let me know your thoughts down below. As I say, that is my 1 to 20 Premier League predictions at the start of February. Do get your comments in, do make sure to drop a like, and do hit that red subscribe button. We're so close to 25,000 subscribers. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out.